Sirens tearing through the afternoon, gunpowder in the air, me running barefoot across the yard. Yeah, that happened. My hands were shaking as I tried to reach my daughter lying in the grass, her therapy dog losing his mind beside her, blood already soaking through her jeans. Neighbors just stood there, phones out, mouths open, but nobody moved, not fast enough anyway. Paramedics shouting words I couldn't hear, ears ringing, knees giving out beneath me as I squeezed her hand and whispered, "Stay with me, baby, just stay. Let me back up a sec because this nightmare wasn't supposed to happen here." We moved for peace. For a place with wide streets, decent schools, a chance for my kid to have something like normal after all she'd lost. Ava's 12. She's got the kind of brightness that can burn off anyone's bad mood. Tough as nails, too. 2 years back, some reckless idiot ran a red light and smashed our world apart. She lost her legs. Lost the simple stuff, running through sprinklers, biking with her friends, walking herself to school. But she never lost her fight. Hospital beds, endless insurance calls, months of therapy. Some days I swear I only survived it because Ava refused to give up. We got Charlie, her golden retriever, to help her through the anxiety and the hard days. He goes everywhere with her, gives her a reason to laugh again. That's what I wanted for USA, home, where she'd be safe, streets smooth enough for her wheels, a place to let her live again. It looked perfect at first, you know? Blossoms lining every driveway, kids shooting hoops in the cul-de-sac, everyone waving as you walk by. We planted flowers in the backyard, painted her ramp together. Ava was actually excited for once. I read every HOA bylaw before we moved in, wanted to be sure we followed the rules. I figured maybe people just needed time. Maybe the chilly hellos were small-town awkwardness. But Ava saw it, even before I did. The neighbor lady with the permanent scowl, the way conversations stopped when we came around. I told her to give folks a chance, but I should have trusted my gut. There was rot underneath the pretty lawns, and sooner or later, someone was going to try to poison the peace we'd worked so hard to build. And that someone was Karen. Clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like a tiara, smile sharp enough to cut glass. She came over our first week, eyeing the ramp. "Just a friendly reminder. HOA needs to approve structural modifications," she said. I explained, calm as I could, that the ramp was temporary, ADA compliant, totally legal. She did not like that. I could see it in the set of her jaw. She wasn't here to welcome us. She was here to gatekeep. And it wasn't just about the ramp. She didn't like the dog, didn't like Ava's wheelchair, didn't like being told she was wrong. Her power wasn't in yelling, at least not at first. She left notes passive-aggressive, folded under the doormat, nitpicking our lawn, our trash cans the size of Charlie, my daughter's therapy dog. "Too large for a neighborhood with children," she said, like I was supposed to apologize for the animal who gave my kid the will to face another day. She started scolding Ava for riding too fast in her wheelchair on the sidewalk. Can you imagine? My blood boiled, but Ava tried to brush it off. Neighbors started avoiding us some way from a distance. Others just ducked their heads. When Karen was around, it felt like everyone was watching. I tried to keep us invisible, told myself it'd blow over. But Karen wasn't just enforcing order. She wanted control, and my daughter's independence threatened that. We followed every rule, kept our yard immaculate. Still, the orange violation slips appeared: excessive decorative elements, noise disturbance from canine barking. Charlie only barked if someone approached the gate. Then came the email scold, signed, warmly, Karen, HOA board chair, demanding photos, threatening legal consequences. Every time, I sent back documentation and ADA guidelines. Each response just seemed to piss her off more. Ava started to stay inside, too scared to water the flowers alone. Karen would stand at the end of our driveway, arms folded, watching. She didn't have to say a word. Then the mailbox was smashed. Our tires slashed, both of them, deep cuts, clean. Cops wrote a report, shrugged, no cameras caught it. Of course, when I checked the neighborhood security footage, that night's feed was missing. We set up our own camera. That's how I caught Karen pacing in front of our house, taking pictures, muttering in her phone, leaving a handwritten note. "Maybe this isn't the right neighborhood for your kind." That's when I started collecting evidence. Every note, every violation, every whisper of hate. But a part of me, not the judge but the mom, wanted to believe it would stop, that maybe if I kept calm, didn't escalate, we'd be okay. I didn't see the storm coming. Not until the gunshot. It was just another sunny day. Ava finished therapy, asked if she could sit outside with Charlie, listen to music. I watched her through the window, earbuds in. Charlie chasing butterflies, a real smile for once. Then I heard shouting. Karen at the edge of our property, flailing her arms. Ava looked up, probably trying to de-escalate. Charlie ran between them, barking, protective. Karen screamed, and in a heartbeat, she pulled a gun out of her purse, small, black, deadly. I barely had time to react before I heard 2 sharp cracks. Ava screamed, dropped to the grass. Charlie bolted. I sprinted outside me, baby was down, blood pouring from her leg, her face pale with shock. Mom, my legs, I can't feel them. I screamed for help. A neighbor ran over, pressing a towel to the wound. Karen just stood there, gun dangling from her hand, blank-eyed, like she couldn't believe what she'd done. Sirens, flashing lights, cops, ambulance, chaos. Charlie came back, pressed himself against me as I held Ava's hand, willing her to stay conscious. Cops arrested Karen without a fight. She muttered something about self-defensive dog, the wheelchair moving too fast. The officers exchanged a look. I could tell they weren't buying it. As the ambulance doors slammed shut and Ava disappeared inside, I stared at Karen, at the woman who just shattered my child's life all over again. She didn't know who I was. She was about to find out. Hospital lights, forms I couldn't read, my hands still covered in blood. Charlie wasn't allowed inside, so a kind security guard sat with him while I waited. It all replayed in my head. Gunshots, Karen's smug face. I've seen trauma, been through trials that broke grown men, but nothing hurt like this. A detective showed up, polite, but nervous, clearly not used to dealing with someone from the federal bench. I gave him everything, every note, email, photo, the timeline of harassment. When I mentioned the missing security footage, he frowned and told me, "You're not the first one to have trouble with her." That stung, you know? How many people had to suffer before anyone took it seriously? How many times did Karen get a pass? Karen sat in the precinct, arms crossed, claiming she was threatened by Ava's dog, by a fast-moving wheelchair. But what she didn't know was that a neighbor had captured the whole thing on their Ring camera, every word, every step, every second of her escalating. When the police showed her the video, her confidence cracked. She demanded a lawyer. But as she left, an officer told her, "You know who her mother is, right? She's a federal judge." For the first time, Karen looked scared. I wasn't in Ava's hospital room when they wheeled her out of surgery, but I was there when she woke up bruised, battered, alive. The DA filed hate crime charges, civil rights violations, the works. Karen tried to spin her story, respectable community member, moment of panic, the usual garbage. Her attorney requested bail. But the evidence was overwhelming: years of harassment, that viral video, the community's silence now finally broken. Courtroom was packed, not for Karen's case, but because word had spread. A federal judge's daughter, shot in her own yard, the footage making the rounds on every officer's phone. Karen was brought in just as I finished presiding over another case. She wasn't expecting to see me in the judge's seat, all authority, delivering sentences with the full weight of the law. She froze. I'd recused myself from her case, but my presence was enough a reminder that the law she'd mocked was staring her right in the face. Later, another judge read out Karen's charges: assault with a deadly weapon, civil rights violations, hate crime enhancements. The video played in the courtroom. The gasps were real. Karen tried to explain, but nothing she said could erase the sound of my daughter's scream, the sight of her collapsing from her wheelchair. When the verdict came, 20 years, no chance of parole, there was no applause, just a thick, heavy silence. Justice, not vengeance. The story blew up: news coverage, disability advocates, civil rights groups, everyone talking about HOA abuse, the ways policy hides bigotry. The HOA board quit. The community held a vigil on the sidewalk where Ava fell. People who once looked away now sent cards, food, apologies. Karen's name became a warning: what happens when power is used to hurt, not protect. Ava survived, though she'll never walk again. She says her new chair just makes her faster. Got grit like you wouldn't believe. She started a blog, a podcast, led panels about accessibility, about standing up even when you're scared. Watching her, I see not just my daughter, but a survivor pain turned to purpose, fear to fire. She taught me that justice isn't about revenge. It's about making sure nobody gets silenced. Nobody gets pushed aside just because they're different. So if you're listening, don't look away when you see injustice. Speak. Act. Because sometimes the smallest voices carry the most weight, and sometimes the quietest strength comes from the ones you tried hardest to silence. What about you? Would you have spoken up or just kept your head down? Let's talk about it. Share your take below, right, wrong, or somewhere in between, because maybe justice really starts with one person refusing to stay silent.